We take maybe 3 questions to start.
Could I just ask Huda, could you mention something briefly? I hear that women, wage, peace and dialogue, that you talk with settlers as well. Thank you.
We have a question on reconciliation. How easy is it for a person speaking Hebrew to learn Arabic and for someone who speaks Arabic to learn Hebrew?
I didn't understand the question.
You were saying that we should be more inclusive about Palestinians, the ones in Israel and the ones in the occupied territories. From abroad, Solidarity Movement with Palestine, we sometimes have the feeling that Palestinians inside Israel are not really concerned by the situation of Palestinians elsewhere. And this is one thing I would like you to talk about. I know it's not easy. And the second thing, apart from the fact that I wonder if you don't have illusions about our representatives in our so-called democratic countries, because I don't think that our parliaments and other elected people really represent our wills and interests. I was really a bit shocked to hear that you were calling the Israeli police to help you against Palestinian criminals, if I did understand what you were saying. And of course, Israel doesn't want to interfere because they like the idea that you kill each other, I suppose. That means less Palestinians at the end of the day. But isn't there another solution for you? Of course, it's right, you are claiming to have the same structure, infrastructures and rights as the other cities, but for me, which comes from France, with the yellow vests and the brutality of the French police, and I suppose the Israeli police is not much nicer, it's something strange to hear that you are asking for the help of the Israeli police.
Thank you. Let's start with the first question about contacts with settlers.
So I personally don't speak to settlers. It's not my job and I shouldn't be doing it. The people who should be talking to settlers and not just blaming them for everything is the Israelis themselves. Settlements were not created by the Palestinians. They were created by Israel and Israelis and Jewish money. So I do encourage Israelis to talk to settlers. Yes.
Okay, thank you. There was a question about the difficulties for Israelis to learn Arab and for Palestinians to learn Hebrew. Is that the question?
Yeah, I'm not sure I understood the question. I said something before about the Arabic. That yes, for us in Israel, is the language of the enemy. We have. You want to say something to maybe to clarify something because. That the languages are similar or sister languages. Yes, of course. In fact, one of the tragedies of a result of a colonial situation is that exactly this, that instead of endorsing and having the culture of the place and understanding that Arabic and Hebrew are sister languages and they are very close to each other, there were many Jews that lived before Zionism, Zionist migration began, lived in Palestine, that of course they spoke Arabic, even some of them that came from Ashkenazi background, European Ashkenazi, European background. They studied Arabic very thoroughly, and they loved and researched the language. So the linkage between the languages was very strong. This was very much destroyed by Israel, and the Arabic turned to only a language of the enemy. The main motivation, or the main way Israel is trying to convince young Israeli people to study Arabic is in order to be a good soldiers in the intelligence and to have the Arabic in order to use it against Arabs. And today, I think maybe more than 90% of the Jews that speaks and really master Arabic, it's because of their background in the intelligence in the army. It's really a tragedy. Yeah.
Thank you. Then the question about are Palestinians inside Israel, are they concerned about the situation in the occupied territories?
I think this division of Palestinians inside the so-called borders of Israel and Palestinians outside the borders of Israel is just playing into the Israeli right-wing government's game of divide and conquer. We're the same people. These are my brothers and my sisters. We are fighting the same discrimination, maybe seen in different ways, but it's at the end of the day the same one, targeted against the Palestinian people. We ourselves are viewed as enemies from within. Our political representatives fight every time against the occupation and are attacked for it. We are always opposing any form of occupation and any form of discrimination against the Palestinian people because we are part of those people. I can't look at this as an other entity. We're the same. We're two parts of the same body. It's an arm and a leg. So as part of the Palestinian people, of course we're concerned. We're mortalized and deeply afraid of the developments going on in the last years. People are trying to lead their lives, yes, but everybody is trying to lead their lives, including Palestinians in the territories. At the end of the day, people have children they need to feed. So they're not breaking all of the rules and burning the streets because they have lives, they have families, they're trying to maintain some normality. But looking at that as not caring is I'm sorry, but it's detached. It's like, there is no separation here, and we won't allow it. We've been fighting against that separation since the day the Israel entity came to be. So we are deeply concerned. Now, as for the other part of the question,
Don't you think that Palestinians in the occupied territories are somewhat shocked?
sorry? I didn't understand the question.
Supporting guns.
Gantz? We never supported Gantz. So the end of the, okay, so what are we supposed to do? Stay out of the game and not be part of any political decision taking place and allowing the Jewish people to decide for us? No, we won't do that. Does this mean maybe having to collaborate with somebody that we don't want to work with? Absolutely. What's the alternative? Netanyahu, the settlers and their control? No, I'm sorry, we're not committing suicide and we're not allowing our brothers and sisters across the border to be killed simply because we're too moral or too good to play the political game. Politics is a game, it needs to be played. Now, as for the question about the police, well, we're calling the bluff. They're saying that we're being killed because we're not allowing the government and the police to help. So what we're saying is that, no, you don't want to help us. This situation benefits you, so now we're calling your bluff. You claim that you want to help. Give us the budgets and the money that we need to fight this phenomena. As a response, what did Erdan, the Minister of Interior Affairs, suggest? To bring in the border control. into the Palestinian cities to control the crowd. Now that pretty much makes it clear. If we are in fact, as you are claiming equal rights citizens, why do you need the border control? Why won't you simply fund local police forces from the local cities? We don't need to bring anybody from the outside. And fund educational plans and fund different plans that have already been submitted by different people from the community. Why is your immediate response to bring in the control of the other? So this pretty much breaks their bluff, which was exactly the plan from the start.
Okay. And then there was another question, a last question, about if you, all of you maybe have too much illusions about the stand of the West and your hope in the possibilities of the Western civil society to intervene. That was a very open question, but maybe you want to react on that.
I'm not waiting for the savior from without to come and save us. I think that the only change will really happen if we ourselves bring it. Would international pressure on the Israeli government in forms of BDS and other forms of pressure help move things along? Definitely, yes. But we're taking a look around. Governments all across the world are becoming more and more right-wing, more and more disinterested in whatever is happening in the Israel-Palestine occupation or any other forms of occupation. They're becoming more close to themselves, dealing with interior issues. And even there, the rise of the right-wing is scary. So unlike some of my colleagues, I have very little faith in the effectiveness of outside interference. And I believe that if we want to bring the change, we need to be the change and make it come within.
I was the one who suggested it, and I was not suggesting it to help us, actually for the West to actually use that as a strategy instead of giving up on the political system, giving up on democratic ways. And if you choose to give up, this is an action of despair, and I am against despair.
Maybe we will come back to this, because Gideon Levy said in the beginning that change will not come from within. Maybe he will give you an answer on that.
Can I make a comment on the previous thing that?
Very short, because we still have 2 or 3 questions, and we would like to then close.
Okay, but I would like to comment on something, because it's a position that was not heard here at all. And I think what you said, Nisreen, was very important on the issue of the Dallas elections. And in a way, for me, the trap that Ayman Uda found himself, because he played in the political game of the parliament, the Israeli parliament, the Israeli Zionist parliament. And after that, if he plays inside, okay, there are requirements and there are conditions how you play, and then you are part of the game. And then if guns call you, you have to set a meeting. And exactly the reaction of someone here in the audience, we reacted at home, we heard this, his kind of support, and we were shocked. We said, okay, we are sure in Gaza, the Palestinians would be very happy to know that he is part of this political game. I think that since 2013, I boycott the elections in Israel, and I think we should work against the regime from inside. Maybe in grassroots, for example, strategies like you are doing, but not in participating in the political game in the level of the parliament. Of course, to do politics, all what I do has to do with politics, of course, but not from within the parliament. If you are part of the game from within the parliament, you are part of this ugly situation. And you cannot say on the one hand that you kind of support Gantz, but you are not supporting what he did in Gaza. Of course you are not supporting, but now you are supporting Gantz in a way, and you might be part of the government. There is a situation that the Arabs might be part of the government, maybe support from outside, maybe from inside. I think it's very, very problematic situation. I think all the people that are not supporting this regime from within should be against it in the level of the parliament and not participated in the elections in Israel.
Okay, thank you.
So I
We take another 2-3 questions.
Yeah, I will go for the next question. Just maybe when I'm going to the people, maybe you can just say one word about your book, because I think you had no.
He did in the beginning.
I mentioned the
sorry.
book, and yes, it's here, and I would be glad to sign if
Thank
someone
you.
want to have it.
Sorry, I was not paying attention.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. My name is Wafa from Palestine, Gaza. I don't want to repeat what my... Okay. Donc, I thank you all from my heart. I was thinking before, I'm very far off justice, because every time since I start to live here in Luxembourg, I always heard that there is a conflict between Israel and Palestine. The people here and in Arab country, they're very scared to talk about the reality. And today it was for me like a shock that there are people still believe in the reality and still strong to tell the reality. And here I go. And I believe in the civil movement. It is very important to aware the people and to knowledge them about the fact and about the reality. But I still also believe in the political movement, because imagine if tomorrow and the occupation Israel army decided to attack Gaza, is there anything to stop them? Any decision could be to make them stop? Of course, no. This is from my experience. And my question is, what is the real political action should be taken to end the violence? At least we are not talking to end the occupation, because my colleague, the journalist here, he said it's unbelievable, impossible to talk about stop the occupation, because Israeli government, they plan from since ever to have occupation. Donc how just to have a real political movement to stop the violence? Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much for all your presentations. And with your differences, my dream is that all of you become mainstream in Israel. And the question I think we all have, you say, some of you say, we will do it everything by ourselves. Some of you say, we need support from you. All of us share the idea that BDS is fundamental. But I think that there is something more to invent, which is how we can really tell to the Israeli opinion that it must be accountable of what is going on, and how to bring this message. And so my question is, of course, BDS, but is there anything else we can invent to make the Israeli opinion more accountable and help you to become mainstream?
Hello. My question is quite the same. I mean, I'm interested about. Oh, sorry. Yes, it's clear that the Palestinians are struggling against occupation. That's clear, and we all agree. But what about Israel? What about the people of Israel? Are they aware about the BDS, for example? 10 years ago, I was in Israel, Palestine, and there were no BDS. And as you said, the left parties, it doesn't exist anymore, let's say the left movement. Are they reacting? They look at the information everywhere, and their reputation is very bad everywhere. I don't know how they react. The young people, are they doing demonstration on the streets, or because they don't tell us here, you know, the mainstream, they don't tell us if there are Israeli, they run, enfin, voilà, that's my question.
Thank you. Let's start with the last question. What about the Israeli left?
She asked about knowing if they know about BDS. Yeah, of course Israel know about the BDS. It's one of the enemies that we Israelis have to be united against them. And we have constantly information about the ministry that struggle or fight against the BDS in the world. So it's one of the enemies, you know. Iran is the enemies, Hamas is the enemies, BDS is enemies. What Israelis are not aware, most of the Israelis are not aware why this exists. We feel that, according to our feelings, I think Gideon talked about it today excellently, explaining that we are the ultimate victims and we don't understand at all why we are to be blamed in this situation. I want to say one thing about the comment from the woman from Gaza, what we need. And I think one of the main things that I see also when I visit in Europe and I hear these discussions is that there is one fundamental difference in the understanding of the situation, which I think as long as we see the problem as the occupation, and we mean the occupation of 1967, which is not the big occupation. The occupation starts at least in 1948, if not before. Clearly, the biggest occupation is in 1948. This is clearly in all the levels of displacement of people, of taking their homes and living in the homes of the Palestinians. This is something that is not done in the West Bank, for example. The enemy settlers of the right-wing Israeli settlers are not living in houses, in very few houses. Yes, in Silwan, it's true, maybe in Hebron, some houses, but it's a minor situation comparing to the big occupation in 1948. Hundreds of thousands of Palestinians were displaced, and thousands of their homes were rehabilitated by Israelis in order to prevent their return, including kibbutzim, Hashomer HaTzair, all these people that are for peace. So I think there is really a fundamental problem here of understanding the issue, because I think if one day the liberation will be the two states, then it will be a tragic solution for me, because then it will accept Zionism as a just project in the borders that were concluded in 1949 or 1948. And I think this is very, very problematic situation, because this not only will keep the Palestinians inside the second-class citizens, of course, in the Zionist state, but also keep us, Israeli Jews, as colonizers forever. And I don't want to be this. It's not only about the West Bank. It's not only about settlers there. The settlement, you come to see them in Tel Aviv. In Tel Aviv, there are 8 Palestinian villages. And we can do a tour, and I can show you these places. It starts there. The situation, colonial situation, starts in Tel Aviv. And now there is a second level of this colonial situation when Israel is evacuating Mizrahi Jews from those homes that they occupied, the homes of the Palestinians in villages now in Tel Aviv and in Jerusalem, in order to prevent the return of Palestinians. And now those Mizrahim are kicked out of their homes because they are not kibbutzniks, Ashkenazi. And then, so it's multi-layer colonial situation. And we have to analyze it in these terms in order to have a vision for completely another reality.
Thank you.
Again, I cannot support BDS in any form or shape. I am a stateless person. I have no rights here or anywhere in the world. It's been criminalized in the United States, in Israel, and soon in Europe. So no one should ask me to do that and put myself in prison. You guys, the least that you can get if you support it is harsh questioning in the airport and then flying back to where you come, to your country where you live in safe havens. So I will not again support BDS in any form, shape, or state. Because that is threatening my own security. So I appreciate it if you respect that. The second reason is BDS has a sister organization in Palestine called the Anti-Normalization Movement. They see my interaction with Eitan and Jonathan as normalizing the Israeli occupation, and they attack me. So please, this is too much to ask from me, and I will not comment on BDS.
Maybe something on the end of violence?
Actually, that's exactly what I wanted to talk about.
Merci.
Okay,
Please,
I'm not sure what the young gentleman is saying. I'm sorry, I don't speak French at least.
Try to.
The end of violence. I think the first and most important cause in any of our lives is to end the violence toward the people of Gaza and to find who are the primary people who are suffering from violence today. I think that even in the West Bank, they don't suffer what the people of Gaza are suffering today. They suffer from other ways, not less terrible, but not such direct violence and people being killed every week, day in, day out, and horrible, terrible things, and living in a prison of 2 million people. It's an unimaginable situation. The way that I'm trying to bring an end to this situation is to make the people realize that it's good for them to stop it, and they will benefit from it, because unfortunately, and I do say that unfortunately, after 30 years of trying to make them understand that not only is it amoral, it is a human to continue what is happening here, at the end of the day, people need to know why it's bad for them, why they are affected, why their lives are being damaged by the continuation of this situation, and why the occupation is their enemy before it's the enemy of somebody else. I think that is it's a slow, long process. I'm not saying it's going to happen tomorrow. I'm afraid not. It takes time. But I think that's the only thing that is going to work. After we start making people understand that maybe it's bad for them and they start questioning it, then we can start planting the seeds of morality and humanity in it. Right now, the majority of people, of the Jewish people living in Israel, are not aware of the situation. They don't see it. I don't think they're bad people. Honestly, like people like Eitan and Jonathan, I'm sure there are many, many others like them, are not bad people. They're not evil. They weren't born to bring harm to others. They just are either unaware or they are too decentralized. They're detached from the situation to be able to live with themselves. So they have to see the situation and be confronted with it. And then we can start really talking about how to end the impossible violence happening now.
Thank you. Thank you, all of you, for for being here in Luxembourg, having shared your analysis.